Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and jerky.
built for your business. Who knew?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome, everybody, to Tech Magic, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the tech scene. That could be AI, that could be VR, that could be AR, that could be any mixture of alphabet soup that comes in a spoonful. It's just about whatever you can imagine. And with me today is Adam Davis McGee. I'm Lee Kebler, and you're wondering where Cathy Hackl is, and so are we. This is another game of where in the world is Cathy Hackl. She was supposed to be on today's show. However, I do actually know where she is today. She went to Vancouver, Canada for the TED conference. And then while there, had to be swept away for another event for, I think it was Nokia. We will hear from her later on in the show. She'll give us a brief update of all the goings on. And I'm sure that next week's podcast with her is going to be a whirlwind of crazy information, even as we're seeing announcements come out of TED. So in the meantime, we have Adam Davis, who has filled in as our co-host in the past. Adam, welcome back. You were supposed to be doing a segment on the show, and now you're just like, hey, you're here. Right. You're in the co-pilot seat.
Put me in. Let's go.
How are you doing? Thanks for being able to join us, and apologies to everyone who's listening for the late arrival of this episode. I know we normally come out on Wednesday, and we didn't get to record it until Wednesday. So whenever you're listening to this, thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah. No, I'm doing good. I'm always glad to be here. Always happy to hang with you. And hopefully maybe one day I can hang out with Cathy instead of you. But, it's until then, I'm stuck with you and they're stuck with me. So.
That's a real hard ask because you have to figure out where she is. That's the first question.
Yeah, no, she's always on the go. And I can't wait to hear, how her experience was, obviously, with TED. I mean, we're seeing some pretty fun stuff coming out this week. So, yeah.
We have. And it's been, okay, so let's get that elephant out of the room. Shoo. We try to maintain, I think I've maybe said this every episode since January. We try to not bring politics into the show, and yet this year it's just not really an option. We're watching just kind of the tech industry react to changes in what their financial forecasts are going to look like for 2025 ? As we go back and forth on tariffs, and we're trying to get a grasp on where the industry is going and where manufacturing is going to happen and how we can get logistics, like all the stuff that I think we've taken for granted for like the last ever since we've had Silicon Valley is now like, oh, okay, so
exploding.
What do we do now?
It's reacting and it's exploding and it's spilling over into everyone's cereal every morning.
It has been interesting. And I think where we can see it kind of react first, this is going to sound crazy, but Nintendo had a crazy week this week. There's a level that I just feel bad for Nintendo. Like the timing was so bonkers for them to announce and launch we're going to do a pre-order. It's the 9th of April, and we were supposed to be looking at pre-orders real soon in the US for the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 was debuted this month, and people were ready for it. I mean, the Nintendo Switch is arguably one of the better selling consoles of maybe all time, and it was kind of out-of-date hardware in 2017 when it launched. It was kind of an underpowered tablet in 2017. So like any gamer, any Nintendo fan has been waiting for the Switch too. And so all of a sudden Nintendo Direct comes out. We see what we expected to see because leaks happen. But yeah, it looks great. It's got a price bump at $450. That does come with a copy of Mario Kart, which cool. That's great. But it's still expensive.
Am I wrong? The release is still, or pre-orders are still delayed overseas.
Well, they're delayed here.
And
so,
here, okay.
Right. So what they had done, and I get this, this was smart, right? The tech industry has a real, especially in the gaming space, has a real tough history with scalpers, right? It's right up there with like concert tickets. Anything that has a feverish fandom can be subjected to scalping problems. Shoes, sneakerheads, right? Like have the same thing. I'm up here in Portland, Oregon. We're the sneaker capital of the world, and we see it all the time. So most people have forgotten that when the Nintendo Switch first came out, or even like the Wii back in 2006 first came out, they had a really hard time keeping them on the shelves. People would go in, they'd snatch them up. It was the thing that everyone wanted for Christmas, and all of a sudden they were on, Craigslist for buku's money. It was just tons way over what anyone had expected. And so Nintendo has this idea of, we're going to open pre-orders to only people who have an account, who pay for an online subscription. You're going to be able to order one, and you have to have proven that you actually play the thing. So they're actually looking at like your play hours and saying, okay, yeah, you've actually played the Nintendo Switch. You're a real person. You have a Nintendo Switch online account. You're going to get first in line because you've been... Honestly, I kind of love it. Like,
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. Like, if you have that capability to do that and roll that out in a really, ethical and fair and like showing love to your community, to your Genesis, to your day ones, man, that's smart.
And there are people who are saying, well, what if we didn't pay for the online subscription? This seems like a way to like just sell the online subscription. I would agree with you if they weren't pinning that against hours played, but like I kind of do get it. Like, yes, if I'm Nintendo and I'm looking at the US market and I can see all of these people who, yes, you've played the Nintendo Switch a lot and you are supporting our online system, you're basically a super customer. Regardless of if you agree with that approach or not, that is a smart business decision to reward the customer that actually is paying for the premium services first. That's real. And if you can take out the scalper, side of it, which they've had massive problems in the past, I think this is a great solution. And then the tariffs hit, and dude, we just got rug pulled real
Everybody
hard.
got rug pulled. Everybody got rug pulled. Nintendo said, hold the phones. They had to switch it up. You see what I did there?
That was the Switch. That was the Switch.
That was the release. Let me ask you this. If there was, okay, first of all, I'll preface this. I have actually never owned a Switch, and I've barely played it a few times. So
I'm not surprised by that. You're not much of a...
I'm an OG Nintendo 64 person, but I've watched a lot of my friends adopt the Switch that were never gamers before, and I just love how it just has crossed over. I'm just with it. But like, if there was an accessory that you feel you could launch, like, or bring into the market with this new launch, what do you feel it could be? Because I know there's a lot of cool features with casting to 4K, like you can do all this stuff, but what do you feel like? What would you want to do?
Nintendo did it. Like, that was what was really surprising to me, is like they added some peripherals that I even wasn't expecting. The fact that they're launching with a secondary camera that you can attach to it. So you like what is effectively their version of Zoom, right? But for gaming, great. Like, that is actually better than better conceived as it's being presented to us. Putting it in action is always something different, but as it's being presented, that is actually a better solution than a lot of you in PC gaming online multiplayer stuff, right? Like, it's that camera to be plug and play where it can cut you out. It can put the game you're playing in the background. You can have 5 people, like all of that starts getting us closer to my nostalgia of, N64 GoldenEye at my friend's house when I was in like middle school, right? It's not going to be 1-to-1, but we're getting closer to it. And the fact that it's Nintendo is super exciting. So that was probably the thing I wasn't expecting that I was super excited about.
Can I drive Mario Kart as myself? Can it put my like can the camera put me in the driver, like I'm in the driver's seat?
You know, it can't do that, but one of the things that they did do was for one of the things they did was for Mario Party, which I really liked because I have little nieces and nephews and we play Mario Party online all the time just as like a family game night for all of our extended family because we don't live in the same state. And it's often hard to remember which character goes to which person, but the camera now puts your face over your character that you're playing. So for a game like Mario Party, where that is a real thing, I forget who's controlling Donkey Kong. I don't remember it. Now there's like a face to that. Super cool. Now, I don't know how this works when you've got two people in one room, right? Like there's some super big questions. I love the backwards compatibility that they're doing with the people who have the Nintendo Switch. The fact that you can play those games in the same room together, and then get this is big for me. If you have a Switch 2 and you've got friends who want to play a game with you and your friends bring their Switch over, if one of you owns the game, it connects to all of the other Switches. So they're not forcing you. Back in the day, I'm a Game Boy kid, right?
That's great.
So like we had a multiplayer. We had this like weird octopus looking thing that you connected all the Game Boys together and you could all play like Battle Tetris or whatever together, but you all had to have the cartridge, right? So
yeah. No, but dude, you know what? Right now, I am literally tomorrow. My daughter has a STEAM festival at her school, and school is great. Parent volunteers put it all together, and I've got some VR headsets laying around. They wanted some like, and the theme of the festival is sustainability. So we're throwing up some underwater VR adventure, and I still cannot. I've patch in multiple. If I buy one singular game from the Meta Store, I cannot use it on multiple headsets. I got to like buy it over and over. I can't share it. I can't stream. That's frustrating. I don't like that.
Yeah. But that's the way it's been. So to see Nintendo of all the companies, because like Nintendo just wants to sell more products, like that's always been their history. So to see them come in and say, yeah, if you've got it and everyone else has a Switch and you want to play this multiplayer game, you only need one copy. That's big.
That's kind. I think that's kind. If I'm within a certain radius, right? That's totally good.
Now, that is being said with a little bit of hesitation because they're also looking at a price bump in how much their games are going to cost. So there is an expectation that like if you don't get the bundled Nintendo Switch 2 with Mario Kart's going to be $80, right? Like, that's a shock because we're used to $60. Now,
right.
When you increase for inflation, video games are still cheaper today than when like the N64 came out.
Yeah.
So even at $80, that's not necessarily me supporting the fact that we're looking at $80 video games, but there is some legitimacy of like the price of video games have not increased as the inflation has increased. There's an argument there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's there. And arguably video games are costing more to put out than they did back then too. It's just kind of
larger volume, larger competition for sure.
The games are longer. You just have more to program. Like the video, you go back to what I paid for Tetris on the Game Boy, right? Or a Mario game. The first Mario game on the Game Boy lasted 20 minutes. If you knew how to play it, Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy was a 20-minute game. And it sold for like $35, $40 when it came out. And that was in 1991 money. So,
those were the days. Solitaire, Snake.
I still don't know how to play Minesweeper. I just
man, nobody knew how to play Minesweeper. You're just guessing.
Speaking of gaming news, while we are on the subject, Valve, who owns Steam, big player of indie games and AAA titles getting to the PC, they are looking at releasing a new VR headset. This is so desperately needed. They don't release new hardware often, and often when they do release new hardware, their target dates are vastly overestimated and they come out much later. But they did release the Valve Index. We're looking at about like 2019, and that is one of the premium, still to this day, a premium desktop VR headset. So they're looking at something that's being codenamed the Deckard. That's a very telling name because their biggest success has been something called the Steam Deck, which has been their answer to the Nintendo Switch. That's how I'm tying all of this together. So I'm guessing this might be a VR headset that plays off of maybe the new Steam Deck. I don't know. There's been a lot of speculation that the Steam Deck actually is powerful enough to support VR gameplay as it gets compared to like what's currently in the Meta Quest headsets. So they're looking at but this is the thing. They're calling it a premium VR experience at $1,200, which is roughly about what their past desktop was. I think was like $1,000 in 2019.
Right.
So it may just be another desktop VR headset. I don't know, but we have seen $1,200 all-in-ones. We've seen $3,500 all-in-ones thanks to Apple.
Right.
So we can't really speculate what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, who is it serving? You know, who is it serving? Developers, creators? Is it serving consumers?
I think it's going to serve gamers. That's who Steam ultimately serves, is gamers. Valve worries about the gamers. Valve to this day, and I've given talks on this. They released Half-Life Alyx, which was their VR introduction to AAA style gaming. And it almost did a disservice to VR because it was so good that no one just there wasn't a studio that could compete with it. To this day, it is still considered the best VR desktop gaming experience of all time. So a big part of that has been with Meta pushing us to all-in-ones, which I think is the right move. This isn't a dig at Meta. The actual quality, visual fidelity, that length of gameplay has gone down because it has to all rest inside of a headset. Thanks to things like AirLink, where you can connect your headset to your desktop if you have a strong enough desktop PC, which is quickly happening. We're getting to a place where better high fidelity VR could be in place. And that has to be where this is going, especially with them naming it as a premium VR experience. The price point makes sense, but it being called the Deckard, codename Deckard, really just makes me think it's going to plug into the Steam Deck, which I'm all for. That's great.
And also, if, listeners are not aware, the Deckard and Roy, which is actually the codename for the controllers, those are Blade Runner references.
That's true too. So
yeah, a little fun.
You pulled out your movie nerd there for a little bit. Okay.
Hey, Los Angeles treat me all right. Taught me a few things.
Now, this is happening at the same time while Sony has permanently reduced the price of PlayStation VR to $400.
Yeah, we saw that coming.
We did, but here's the thing. This is to the listeners who are like super VR nerds like me. It's probably a really good buy right now. They also had released a converter, and I've never seen a console company do this. In my memory, I don't remember a console company ever doing this. So it used to be the PlayStation VR had to require a PlayStation. Then they released a converter that just lets you plug in your PlayStation VR into your desktop computer. So there's reason to buy the PlayStation VR system just for desktop VR gaming or whatever your use case is, because it is genuinely the most comfortable headset on the market.
That's true. It does have comfort.
They nailed the comfort level with that. I don't think anyone saw that coming, and so to see them drop the price down to $400,
it's
great.
And their VR bundle is a competitive, offer too. I think, you can play a lot. I never got attached to the PSVR, but it is comfortable and Sony has some pretty decent games out there.
They do.
I think they're offering, I forget what the price is, but you can play a lot of really solid games within their bundle.
Well, yeah, they have some AAA title. They're good at getting their licenses for exclusive deals for games. They're really good at that. Last of Us for the PlayStation was a huge one.
It's the Sony pipeline. They can win with that. It's great IP.
Yeah, they've definitely figured out how to do it. Now, on the same time as the Nintendo Switch is coming out, Microsoft with Xbox is saying, you know what, we're also going to put all of our games over on the Switch as well. They're not all of them, but they're really open to it. I think we'll see Halo and some major Microsoft IP make its way onto the Switch. If we can get a Switch in the United States, we'll see. That TBD.
But you know what? Going back to that really quickly, because we're talking about just the launches and releases, it's everybody's launch and everybody's release date is got to be, getting curveballed right now. I mean, again, we don't got to go steep into the politics of it, but like, it's definitely something that can be, to be considering, for your projects, for your clients, for whatever you're thinking about with you leveraging this technology or any even trade shows and conferences and things like that. Be aware.
I don't have the article in front of me, but I was reading an article this morning that Apple, and I don't know what the validity of this is. I didn't put this into the show rundown because it wasn't directly correlated with where the show was going. But on that point, there was an article of like Apple making mass shipments of iPhones to the United States so they can get it in.
Oh,
so there's product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did you see the breakdown? I think it was from Forbes about what could Apple make the iPhone in America? And if so, how much would the iPhone really cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen. Like just
and it actually could at the moment not even really physically be possible to happen.
No, it can't, right? So I just did a show out and did a talk out in Boise and met with a couple of fantastic, brilliant minds out there. Micron is a big chip manufacturer in Boise. We have Intel here in Portland for chip manufacturing, and they've been trying to push things through. Now there's a big question mark on the CHIPS Act and what that's going to look like going forward, which that to me, like, that's where I will get political. That doesn't make any dang sense to me because it's actual manufacturing happening in the United States. So we kind of need that. So just leave the CHIPS Act alone and at least have some type of consistency here. That probably needs to go forward. But it would be near impossible to manufacture an iPhone here right now today. And it would take years of factory fabrication before we could do that. So that would mean if that were to be the case to like run out, your iPhone 16 is your 17, 18, 19, and probably 20. Just to hold on to it. Don't drop it.
Don't drop it.
Get case for that thing.
And buy a second one while you still can. Buy another one now. I mean, jeez.
I mean, as a musician, as a music producer, I made massive hardware upgrades before all of this kind of hit the fan too, because I don't know how long things are going to take. I'm also a big proponent for using old gear. So like that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, my wife and I, obviously we couldn't have picked a worse time to be trying to get a car right now for the fam. So that sucks. But we won't go into that.
Yeah. There's a couple cars out there that's real cheap though, because no one seems to be buying them.
They're almost giving them away. Certain ones.
Is there? Speaking of launches, so Cathy is currently at the TED conference. However, at the TED conference, Google demonstrates, I did not see this coming. Google's demonstrating new AR glasses and a VR headset. Now, I knew Google was working with Samsung to put together like their competitor for the Apple Vision Pro, but to see them come out to the TED conference and unveil a prototype for AR glasses, which are directly aiming towards Meta's Orion glasses that were debuted almost like 6 months ago, a year ago. I don't know how long ago it's been. Really shows me the legitimacy to these wearables that, it's coming. And what I thought was going to be 5 years might be 2.
Actually, I don't know if they're coming after Orion so much as they're coming after after the Hypernovas.
Right. So we do need to fill in the blank here for those who don't know. Tell people about the Hypernova.
So the Hypernova is Meta's so obviously, the Orions we know are a bit higher of a price point. These Hypernovas are coming in at a little lower, where there's going to be a display feature in the lower corner of just one of the lenses.
To clarify, these are still the Meta Ray-Bans.
These are still the Meta Ray-Bans. They're not, a completely new type of glass or whatever else that, Mark debuted at the recent Connect. But yeah, it's basically a Meta Ray-Ban with a display. And that display is in one corner of the screen, which we're not, we can get into what that's going to be like looking down cross-eyed. But the Google frame that was released, I think, is coming as a competitor more in that market versus the Orions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there could be a little bit of distinction there, but it's definitely with the headset release a bit of a Vision Pro moment for Google, and it's kind of a 1-2 punch, like coming after Apple and Meta with these product launches.
So I can kind of talk about the single screen thing, and this is going to, I'm going to lose some listeners here because they're going to be like, I don't know what he's talking about, but there's going to be 3 of you who know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you remember Tiger Electronics back in the 90s? They made the like really cheap handheld games. Okay.
Yeah.
So they experimented, and of course I saved up birthday money and bought this travesty. They experimented with a little headset called the R Zone. R Zone basically looked like a jock strap that you wrapped around the top of your head.
Hold on. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my.
And it put one single lens over one eye.
Oh, it did. It did.
And it reflected. It was a reflective lens that you could see through. And it was that like weird, cheap Tiger Electronic LCD display. And it was only one color, it was red. And you had a wired controller for it. The reason I bring this up, one, it was absolutely awful. I still have it because I think it's in a...
I'm looking at the promo materials, man. This looks like AI generated it today as a joke. I mean,
it's so bad.
Why is it called the R Zone? What is that?
I think...
This is great.
Okay, so the term augmented reality didn't exist back then, but VR was everywhere. This was also the era of the Virtual Boy. So I think that's where the R came from. But so here's the reason why I bring all this up. Because the way that it worked, and I can speak to this because I owned one, was you had to train yourself to look past the lens. So if you were actively looking at the video game, it would make you go cross-eyed and give you a headache. Now, this is not well explained in any of the manuals or for this stupid device that should have never existed. But if you looked like 20 feet ahead, it would give you that illusion of it filling in the center of your visual.
Over one eye? Like
one eye.
Did you put that in the middle? Like you closed one eye and then you just...
No, you didn't have to close one eye because it was transparent. You could look past it and then it would just be in your vision.
Got it.
Yeah, it was. Do you remember the Magic Eye books? Where
of course.
The way you looked and could see those 3D images was by looking past the page. You had to do that.
Right.
So now everybody who is Gen Z or younger doesn't know what I'm talking about with any of this.
I really recommend you pull over right now if you're driving or whatever you're doing and Google Tiger Electronics R Zone. Highly recommend.
Millennials had it rough. We were trying to make VR happen so bad.
Dude, it was an era. It was a time. The handheld games definitely took off for them. Those were everywhere.
Those were everywhere because they were cheap. You could get them, you played your little game, whatever. But then when they tried to put that into a headset, it was so bad. It was so
forgot
bad.
About this, man. Wow.
But this is the same, this was what the Google Glass was trying to do in 2014. Right? Like all of this stuff is weirdly related. I'm not sitting here saying that I think the single lens approach to whatever Meta's trying to do is going to work. I'd have to try it. It is a very tricky thing to get right. I know it's a cost-saving effort. I also know it's very hard to get transparent lenses to sync like that. It's way easier to do it if you're like in a VR headset than to I don't know. It's just tricky.
They have a lot of frames, a lot of smart frames right now. They're rolling out. I mean, obviously the Orions and the Hypernovas, but they even have, some of these frames that are just designed for research purposes that they're allowing, certain R&D universities, companies, et cetera, to sign up for. But I mean, they're really going in at every level with it. And, I guess I'm kind of here for it, depending on, the price. I mean, for context, the current Ray-Bans the price point for the current Ray-Bans are $299, and
would you pay $350 for the new ones?
No, man, I'm retro. I'm old school. I'm first.
You're first gen.
I'm first.
But I think that's the real question: is if I'm positioned with, hey, I need to go get some new glasses. Oh, I really like Ray-Bans. Oh, for a little bit, Ray-Bans in and of themselves are expensive. They're $150, $200.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to get some Ray-Bans. A little bit more, I can get the one with the camera and the AI built into it. A little bit above that, I can get the one with the screen where I can actually get
and
I think I would do it.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, yes, of course I would. Love tech, but that is what you just described is like, that's no different than, computers and cars and other forms of hardware.
It's a smart upsell. It'll be interesting to see how Google approaches this, because I still say that the reason Meta Ray-Bans are working is because of Ray-Ban.
Yeah.
It'll depend on what Google, like what lens manufacturer Google works with. I don't mean lens, a frame manufacturer Google partners with.
That's a very good point. That's a really good point. And there's also, what they are going to roll out with on the Meta side with the Hypernovas is the wrist, the gesture wrist device. I forget the name. It starts with
the wristband thing that's
going to be paired with the model that has the screen in it, the in the corner. But I don't know if Google's does.
That would be killer. And if that leads them to, that could lead, I'm speculating at this point, right? But that could lead them to competing into the smartwatch arena. Because I never understood why smartwatches didn't try to integrate that. You can tell me my blood pressure and if I fell down a cliff and where I am and all this information, and you can't tell if I'm doing a hand gesture recognition, put something in the band, right? That just seemed like something we should have been able to do by now. So if they're able to move in that direction, that could be big for them.
It's at the end of the day, I'm curious still about how adoption will unfold and just the idea of having an AI chatbot on your face, how that adopts and how if people will begin to really lean into that more and more and more. And then these tools, these pieces of hardware I
think they do
help facilitate.
No, I think they do. I just left a meeting this morning where I was talking to a friend of mine who is in marketing and booking, and he was really open and honest and was just like, I am running my entire mornings through ChatGPT to organize my life. And I don't necessarily even want to use that platform, but I want to use a platform that actually integrates with all my systems. And this is where ChatGPT does kind of fall apart. I also think this is where Apple AI is going to eventually get there if they can fix Siri and kind of put that in line. Yeah, this is kind of where it's heading. And I think that immersion into AI is way more important than what we're seeing in the generative AI. By and large, I don't think your average person cares if they can generate an image of a cat riding a donut over the Niagara Falls. I just don't think the average person cares about that.
Yeah, different need. Much different need.
But if you can put it into a device where you can openly communicate with it and get your day figured out or problem solve much faster, that's just your second brain. Hopefully it stays your second brain and not your first brain. But I do see a world where that's starting to, so much so, and we're going to take a break after this, but so much so that even the EU is dumping an announced 20 billion euros into an initiative to build gigafactories in Europe to focus on AI.
Yeah, let's talk about that when we come back.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD Advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and jerky.
built for your business. Who knew?
Welcome back to Tech Magic. I am here with Adam Davis McGee. My name is Lee Kebler. Cathy Hackl is away. She is actually at the TED conference, and then she had a bunch of other things happen. So she'll be checking in with us in a few minutes. But right now, for this episode, it is Adam and I holding down the fort. And we were just talking about the EU's investment of 20 billion euros as an initiative to start bringing gigafactories just to process AI into Europe. You wanted to talk about this. I don't know. I'm not surprised, but I feel like I've also become desensitized recently in what $20 billion is, or 20 billion euros, right? Like, I think we've all kind of forgotten, like, that's a massive investment.
And the ROI that they're really looking at, it reflects that. You know, this is coming from a place where the EU is behind, you know, in a lot of behind the US, behind China. You know, there's been studies where they're ranking the UK, you know, in third place, and they know they've got to build infrastructure, but they already have 13 AI factories in motion, but they're calling these, you know, gigafactories. Like, they're really targeting these as moonshots, is what the commission is calling it. And that really looks like, you know, significant innovations in healthcare, biotech industry, robotics. And, you know, whereas some of the best performing AI factories have anywhere up to like 25,000, you know, AI processors, this gigafactory would exceed 100,000. That it's needed, it's necessary. That 20B.
Well, it's also a massive play for Europe to like get in the game, right? And to have a foothold. It does concern me a little bit that they feel like this is necessary, because it does tell me that there is a localization concern for bringing this type of service and creation and processing into Europe, because they no longer can feel like they can rely on whether it's China or the US or some other, you know, tech foothold to do it themselves. It is telling. It is globally telling if you kind of put it under the lens of global economics, especially when it comes to like technology investment of, oh, it is worth the investment for you to bring this into Europe, as opposed to just relying on US servers or another, you know, foreign market server farm for doing the exact same type of work. That's a statement in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, they want to make, you know, the EU an AI continent. They want that.
I will say, and I've always given them props for this. The EU is the one area of the globe that I can respect in their approach to actually try to rein in the 100%. Tough questions first. We in this country have not asked the tough questions first. We Wild Wested this nonsense into so many legal problems that I don't know if we can actually get out of it. But at least they're saying, well, hold on, let's make sure we're doing this responsibly. That hasn't really been our strong suit. And I definitely don't think that it's happening in other markets either. So I've always turned towards the EU in hopes that like a lot of the regulation that they're putting in place is going to be forcibly adopted across the global market, because it has to be. In one area where we do see this kind of happening is the conversation around deepfakes, this is an area that Cathy and I have talked about a lot because as turbulent as things are, not much really scares the crap out of me.
Right.
Deepfakes, the level to which AI is being able to be harnessed by anyone, that actually scares the crap out of me. So what are we doing about that regulation has been a huge question mark. And I don't know if this is the answer, but Honor announced that it's actually going to take its AI deepfake technology, which was first introduced to us at the IFA in 2024. It's going to be available worldwide starting this month, April, to help identify what would be considered manipulated media in real-time AI analysis of video, images, content, addressing all types of these concerns. I don't know why this makes me feel a little bit better. I know this can't be the only solution, but it is kind of like...
We want to see more of this.
Thank you. Like, genuinely.
Make sure it can work and make sure it's legit. I mean, you're going to have some fraudsters in the security space, of course.
Sure.
But, hopefully with a name like Honor and just to kind of
Open AI is not exactly open, so it wasn't a name, right?
I fell into that one. Yeah. Fair. There it is. Well, here's what here's what their take is. I mean, they're, pledging a commitment to human-centric innovations, and their technology it was first, debuted in 2024, but we're just now getting access to it now, which does imply to me that they're taking their time before pushing it out, which is great. But it can detect, sub-pixel manipulations and alterations. So we're talking things that aren't even, seen at the human eye. That's what needs to happen. It's just like any sort of, field of science where we're needing to take a closer look at things on the micro level. Is it the micro or the macro?
It should be at both.
The subatomic level, right? I mean, that's kind of like where that's where this securities industries, I feel, needs to be going for it to be valid. Like there has to be super computation, sub-pixel, sub-atomic levels.
Get in there. Tell me what this is.
Yeah, that we just absolutely cannot detect, with as a human being. So that's, we're talking about hopefully new forms of standards and regulations in that securities field of what will become hopefully globally recognized. I just, I look at these, the EU released this AI continent action plan. I just feel like there should be these action plans happening collectively as a world and as superpowers coming together, because we're all up against this at the exact same time. And while, the US may be leading, AI companies and that are considered, successful and whatnot, I just feel like if we really could figure out a way to work together on this. I mean, look, we just had a Russian and an American come back from space. We've got collaborations happening in other fields. Let's get the AI security action plan down, and be really, really transparent about how we can leverage these tools, because that transcends all borders, what you're talking about with those fears and the impact of that.
Yeah, it's a genuine humanity issue, right? And that's what we're hoping to see, at least some come together here and say, look, okay, for the betterment of just survival, we need to know what is and what is not. And I don't think it's going to be that easy, because obviously as soon as you put testing protocol in place, someone out there starts testing on how do they break it, right? So this is an ongoing thing. There's not a it's kind of like antivirus from the 90s, right? You had to continue growing it until it just finally kind of slowly defeated itself a little bit. And we never thought that was going to happen. And now it's gotten a lot better. Things just getting baked into the operating system so it knows how to install things more properly, blah, blah, blah. That's all tech history. We've been down these routes before of like, how do we build a system to detect X, Y, and Z? We're just going to have to do it again and keep doing it. I don't think it's going to change.
And just for those interested, the global market for deepfake detection will grow by 42% annually, from 5.5 billion in 2023 to 15.7 billion in 2026. So if you're looking for a marketplace to get in,
that's growing.
That one's growing.
We're going to cut over to Cathy real quick. She sent us an update, so we wanted to hear from her before we ended the show. And then we got one more conversation news article before we wrap it up. But I want to make sure that we get a chance to hear from Cathy. So Cathy, take it away.
Hello, Lee and Adam, and hello to everyone listening to the podcast. I am sorry to not be joining you this week, but I am traveling in between the TED conference in Vancouver, which has been a mind-blowing experience that has really pushed my thinking and has introduced me to some amazing thinkers out there in the world. There is a certain magic that happens on the TED stage that just cannot be replicated. So I'm thrilled to have been in Vancouver. I'm actually in New Jersey right now to be the host of the Bell Labs Centennial Celebration, Nokia Bell Labs. They're celebrating 100 years. Bell Labs, as many of you know, it was created in 1925 and has been a place where some of the world's most important technological advances have happened. Everything from the transistor to Unix to C++ to, the reason that we can do telephony right now and cell phones. So it's been a fantastic experience being there for the centennial celebration of Bell Labs, which is now Nokia Bell Labs. So greetings from Vancouver and from New Jersey. I will see you next week.
All right, we look forward to you being back next week. I'm sure that we will hear all of the whirlwind.
I want to hear about the robot, Cathy. Yeah. I want to hear about the opening speaker. I want to hear about that.
So we will hear more next week. Speaking of robots, this is our last story of the day. I saved the weirdest for last.
Yes.
I didn't know this happened.
I did before you set the show. I definitely did.
And this morning I was looking for articles that I had missed, and this one popped up, and I sent it to you, and you got super excited that it was on the list. So I'm just gonna let you run with this.
And, well, I love me a nice mythical sci-fi creature coming to life, and this is such a good follow-up to what we've seen at Black Mirror and Boston Robotics with the dog, all the things. The bizarre robotic horse that was debuted is coming from Kawasaki, which obviously Kawasaki, has made some pretty great mobile devices and
dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes. And this is basically an evolution in that field. When I first saw the Robo Stallion, I thought it was legit, like the video I was watching, but I was disappointed to find out later that it was a completely computer generated video, promo video. But Kawasaki is very committed to, kind of announcing the R&D around this Terminator. So the actual name is Corleo or Corleo? I wasn't sure.
I think it's Corleo. Yeah.
I think it's Corleo. And it is, if you can imagine, it's a quadruped, which is a four-legged, having 4 feet. And it's one of those things. It's a Robo-Horse. It can ride up to 2 people. It's hydrogen powered. It's gonna have be packed with AI to give you all of these different kind of readings. But the promo video does show just a complete montage of going around all this crazy terrain and being able to go up mountains and jump around. And a person is just really just riding this thing with I didn't even see, it's maybe just a handle, no real reins, but it's a pretty if an ATV, a 4-wheeler was, had a fairy godmother that turned it into a horse for the night, this is kind of what it would look like. It'd be an animal right here. This thing is the real deal, and it's still in concept, but it's just this would totally be a thing. I mean, it very much feels like an episode of Black Mirror, something that's super imagined.
Would you ride a Robo-Horse?
I would totally ride a Robo-Horse. Are you kidding me?
Would you ride a real horse?
Yes. I mean, I have.
I'm not a horse fan. I didn't
like Seabiscuit, which, that might be another name for it. But I wasn't a fan of that.
Only if it's actually written in C. C sharp biscuit.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. But no, this is one of those stories, go check it out, read it. But it's in concept, but it really is whoa, you've never seen anything like this before.
It's the rideability that really blows my mind.
For riding, exactly, for riding.
It's such a step in a weird direction because it does kind of give you this mental image of a post-apocalyptic wasteland where the one lone cowboy who's survived is riding his robot horse to go save the last little village.
For sure.
There's a great story there with this thing, but it does prove an argument that I've been really like beating a drum on, and that is I don't think Tesla's approach to robotics is what wins. There's this concept growing in kind of the like commercialized tech speculation sector where, yeah, it makes for a good headline and a really cool LinkedIn article. But at the end of the day, the excitement over humanoid shaped robots doesn't logically make sense because we as bipeds do not make for good transportive design. Like the quadruped, there's a reason why the majority of animals on this planet that roam the earth have 4 legs as opposed to walking upright. It is not our upright mobility that made us a dominating species on this planet. It is our brain, and we happen to walk upright, and we've worked around that. But your car has 4 wheels for a reason, right? Like there is when you start looking at robotics that need to get from point A to point B, you are solving a lot of really complex reasons out of arrogance to try to get it to walk upright on 2 legs. That it doesn't make any sense.
So what I hear you saying is we're going to kind of de-evolve or go back to the 4-legged form of transportation, like with horses and our predecessors, and we're going to be seeing the Corleos walking around the streets. We're gonna have we do have certain sections of the U.S. like where horseback riding is very, very real, and not just in rural areas and farms, but like cities. So like the robotic adoption of animals and quadrupeds, et cetera, like as a sense of sustainability and mobility, like all of these kind of touch points, I could agree with you there.
Well, think about it like this: like the bicycle is a really interesting vehicle because the bicycle really only is a good design because humans know how to balance. But if you were trying to autonomously create a bicycle, you wouldn't just do 2 wheels because the effort it would take for you to build the computer that could do that balancing doesn't justify the action of just putting training wheels on the thing, right? You were talking about ROI earlier. There's a much more basic level of just concept design of the thing has to do the thing and work. So to come out of the gate and say, we want to build robots that can service whatever, conceptually, even the world we built around us outside of our internal home was not built for people walking on 2 legs. It was built for cars that have 4 wheels, right? So I think when you look at point-to-point service robots that we already are seeing, you see it in Los Angeles. I've seen a few in Portland, Oregon. They're definitely all over Las Vegas and New York. You're seeing these small carts with 4 legs that can like traverse and see the city because the city was actually built to service that. So they built the robots to do the thing that it does. If you're trying to get a robot for some reason into an all-terrain area, you would never do that with a biped robot. That's just dumb design. It's dumb design. So there's just this weird, when I see articles about like humanoid robots are coming, why? It's a bad design. Even if it's in your home, like it could still be on wheels and way better at detecting and not falling over and bumping into things, because I fall over and bump into things all the time. And it's mostly because I'm on 2 feet. It's a balance issue.
That's what you want to tell yourself. No, dude, it's funny you mentioned Tesla, like their approach to robotics, because Tesla also, when they originally announced the Cybertruck, they had an ATV that came with the Cybertruck. And I think they scrapped it because I never saw it roll out or, come with anybody else's. But it was basically Cybertruck style designed ATV that came in the back. But when I first saw the Kawasaki announcement with this, that was the first thing that came to mind. Is like, oh, they just beat Tesla. They just outdid the evolution of the ATV, and now we've got a 4-wheel.
This is really more of Kawasaki versus Hyundai, because Hyundai now owns Boston Dynamics, which own the design for the dog.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, you got to take it a step back and realize that no, Hyundai did purchase Boston Dynamics about 3 years ago, and they've kept Boston Dynamics as their own thing, chugging along. But there's a real goal here of Hyundai wanting to be in this robotics space, and Kawasaki being a company that does make ATVs, right? Like they do make four-wheelers, ATVs. They make, I think they even make jet skis and dirt bikes. When I made the dirt bike joke, that wasn't a joke. Like they're in this, and they've done it before. So for them to be going head to head, this is the horse versus the dog, and we'll see which one wins. But I think that it's a smarter play than sitting here going, well, how do I make a robot butler that no one actually wants?
Well, I'll just like let the listeners know, just to, temper expectations, that Kawasaki has yet to devise a development timeline or plans for commercialization. But, they are saying that it will be fueled by a 150cc engine, which is pretty solid. And that's a hydrogen tank.
What is that in horsepower?
Right.
But because it's a horse. Get it? It's a horse.
It is a horse. And I will say this. I need it to be a little bigger for it to actually be a horse. It's more like a wolf to me.
The pony.
But, it does have like these hooves, and everything is kind of designed in the way for that balance, and the manner in which it can handle terrain. It's got like rubber padded hooves and all that kind of stuff. Which, sidebar, before we depart from the animal conversation, did you see the announcement about the resurrected direwolf? The first
I saw something pop up. Yeah.
That was not tech specific, but definitely the direwolf, which, was, I think it's been thousands of years since it actually roamed the earth. What's the author from Game of Thrones? That guy basically was writing about him in the books. And now scientists they've actually used some DNA from a fossil of the direwolves from back, way back. And they brought it to life with the first ever de-extincted animal.
This is insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
And that puppy is going to grow to be big, very big, like 180 pounds big, like super, super large. So anyways, I just had to throw that in there because it's gene editing and all the things, but pretty crazy. We've got we have robotic wolves in design, and we have robotic horses in design, and dire wolves coming back. It's just, wow.
What a wild ride. Anyways, that will do it for this show. Adam, thanks for filling in, and we will have Cathy back with us next week. Thanks for tuning into Tech Magic, where we always invite you to come for the tech, stay for the magic. I'm Lee Kebler, and of course here with Adam Davis McGee, returning Cathy Hackl next week. Special thanks as always to Adweek for bringing this show to you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to connect with you. Just search for Tech Magic, Cathy Hackl, or me, or Adam Davis McGee, and you will find us. We'll be back next week.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and jerky.
built for your business. Who knew?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.